Welcome back to LDB Games. I'm Lord Darth Balls, and this is another Raid Shadow Legends video. This video is going to be about the newest dungeon in Raid, and that is the Sand Devils Necropolis. How I'm approaching it and how I'm beating it, really. When you beat the Sand Devil, you get the oil, and the oil is used for artifact ascension. Right, to get you bonus stats on any given piece that you may ascend with the oil. And it is another layer of RNG on top. So, that being said, it has an energy cost associated with it. So, it's not really a high priority of mine. You can see I haven't even gotten to the end levels of it. At this point, I'm only focusing on stage 7. My thought process is I'm going to be getting a ton of little oils, and I'm going to be using them to see what kind of pieces I find. So real quick, let's take a look at what I've gotten so far. Trash, trash, top tier, right? That's 1. Trash, trash, top tier, that's 2. Trash, trash, top tier, that's 3. Decent, decent, trash, decent, trash, 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 trash. Pretty good, right? We'll give that a half. Trash, 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 trash. Those are halfway decent on the champions that they're on, but overall, not great rolls. Trash, 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 and halfway decent considering the champion's on. So really 3.5 pieces of gear that I think are very worth investing more oil in out of 29 that I've ascended. This is not a high priority for me. So when events are going on and there's a fusion going on, do I spend time in the Sand Devils Necropolis? No. So when do I go to the Sand Devils Necropolis? Well, when I get this advanced quest, and I go farm up enough oil to do a single level of ascension and to see what quality gear that it has. My logic is that long term it'll help weed out pieces and help me identify godlike pieces early on to help me filter through my artifacts. So if you do go spend time in the Sand Devils Necropolis and you decide to do stage 7, this video is going to be about the team I used to beat stage 7 because it's fairly easy. But let's take a look at the boss mechanics first. So, and this is an interesting ad because it's the only boss that's susceptible to sleep. And he's not only susceptible, but you need to use sleep against him. So his A1 is an AoE, places a decreased speed and a decreased accuracy for 2 turns. His A2, Dune of Tempest, removes all debuffs from himself, heals him by the amount of destroyed max HP on your team. After healing, he AoEs, and the damage inflicts the damage the skill inflicts decreases for each removed debuff. So the more debuffs you put on him, the weaker this hit is going to become. And then his A3 is the big hit. Feasting Swarm. This is an AoE that ignores shield, block damage, and unkillable buffs. So you can't use an unkillable comp here, and it ignores defense. So it hits really hard. And after attacking, he sleeps himself for 2 turns. Now, whenever he gets a sleep from you, whenever you put a sleep on him, it increases the cooldown of this skill. So the more times you can sleep him, the less chance this has of popping off. And this is usually a team wipe on like the higher levels. Stage 7, this isn't as big of a hit. Now, he's got some really interesting passives too. So the only debuff he's not immune to is sleep. He's immune to every single other effect. However, while under sleep, he's immune to all of the control debuffs. So the only way to get debuffs on him is to put him to sleep. And he decreases the incoming damage from your team by a certain percentage based on the level that you face. So at stage 7, he's reducing incoming damage by 50%. And the damage reduction is decreased by 10% for each debuff that he's under. So you get to 5 debuffs, and he's not reducing any of the incoming damage. So you can see there's a lot to his kit. Now, every single time he attacks, he destroys max HP on your champions. And whenever you decrease his turn meter, it also destroys your max HP. And it destroys it by the percentage of turn meter that you reduce or steal. So if you bring in Geomancer, and you take 100% of his turn meter down, you'll lose 100% of your health. He'll have like a little sliver of health left. And now whenever he is under a sleep and a champion is healed, part of your destroyed max HP gets restored, equal to the value of the heal. So, all right, I think there's, one more that's important, and then we'll talk about strategies. Now, the Dreamless Sleep is a sleep counter. When you put him to sleep, it's not like a normal sleep mechanic where one hit wakes him up. It's actually a specific number of hits before he wakes up. Now, whenever he's hit, it reduces the counter by 1, right? And whenever the slumber counter reaches 0, it removes the sleep debuff and actually gives him 50% turn meter. Now, after a sleep debuff expires or removes, he's immune for 1 full turn. So he's basically guaranteed an attack after the sleep debuff expires or removes. And the duration of the counter is different based on the levels, right? So at stage 7, the counter is 7. And then you cannot exceed 10% on max HP skills. So now part of the strategy here is having champions that don't have multi-hit abilities. The more multi-hit abilities you bring into the fight, the faster the sleep debuff goes away, the faster that slumber counter ticks down. Right? And you need a champion that can sleep him. He will sleep himself after Feasting Swarm, right? Yeah, after attacking places a sleep debuff. So after his gigantic hit, he does sleep himself, which allows you to then do some damage, but you need a way to put debuffs on him and do damage before this, because ideally you want to take as few of these as possible. So you need a sleep champion, and you need minimal amount of hits. Now, on stage 7, it's fairly simple, right? So I got a basic composition here. The 2 key members of this are a farmable rare, Muckstalker, and Lydia the Death Siren, a free legendary champion you get by beating Faction Wars. The other 3 can be any damage dealers, like any damage dealers. I'm using Ninja, Septimus, and Royal Guard, right? Royal Guard and Septimus are big max HP hitters that don't have turn meter manipulation on their big hits. And Ninja is an HP burn exploder. So there are substitutes, right? You could use Cold Heart if you don't build her with accuracy. You can use Royal Guard, you can use Septimus, you can use Husk. Actually, Husk for 7 wouldn't be very good because of the affinity, but for higher, different stages, obviously he would be really good. And then instead of Ninja, Walking Tomb Drang has an HP burn activation on his A1, and there's also a free Doom Tower champion that can be viable here as well, Taya. And Taya has poisons on the A2, which is nice, and has an has an activating of the poisons and HP burn on her A3. Now the downside is her A2 is a triple hitter, so when he's under sleep, it takes the counter down quite a bit. But let's go through this team now. Oops, I want to do this. Yeah. So let's go through this team now, right? So Muckstalker is the most important part of this. Essentially, you could do this with any other champs around him. I bring in Lydia because she brings in the decreased defense and weaken, as well as the strengthen and increase speed. I'll pin to a guide on her that I did recently. This is an incredible ability for both increasing your damage and increasing the damage you do and decreasing the damage you take, as well as keeping you running quick. But Muckstalker, I believe, is a farmable rare from campaign. Yeah, here he is. He's gotten from Godfrey's Crossing. So you can go into, what is that? 10, chapter 10 in the campaign. do some farming there, and you can pull up a Muck Stalker. So let's take a look at his kit and why he comes into play here. And this champion was unused before this dungeon came out. He's kind of garbage, but this champion this dungeon was designed, I think, with this champion's kit in mind. So he has 2 abilities and a passive, right? His passive is if he takes a big hit, he throws a continuous heal on himself, which is nice. He keeps himself alive. And he's HP based, so he has, you know, a solid base HP. His A1 block buffs doesn't do anything in this fight. His A2, which is a 2-turn cooldown when book, places asleep for 2 turns. This is, I think, one of the only ability that puts a sleep on for 2 turns. And it's a 100% chance. This isn't a question, right? The only potential issue is the affinity question, right? Is it a weak hit? So as long as you have enough accuracy, no problem. I did throw Survival Instinct on him. I have a 2-star Bless, and I was kind of playing with this one. Whenever a debuff is placed on him, he gets some turn meter. And the Sand Devil does place debuffs. So I thought this was a great way to try to get back around to his A2 as fast as possible. Now, do I have his... Yeah, I haven't done his masteries yet. Now, I have him built very fast because I have him built to be able to handle higher levels when I get there. So he's a bit fast for stage 7. And in the run that I'll show you, you'll see he kind of outruns the sequence. And he'll use his sleep ability when the Sand Devil's already asleep, which I kind of wish they programmed his AI so that if sleep was out, he didn't use his sleep ability. But it is what it is, right? It's... You saw how long it took to get Cold Heart's AI fixed against Fire Knight, so there's that. But in order to find out the amount of accuracy you need, right, I go to hellhades.com, and I go to the Raid Stages tool. I'll put the link in the comments below. It's an incredible... He's got an incredible website, and it's super useful for pretty much any aspect of the game. So if I go to stage 7 on the Sand Devils Necropolis, he has 175 resistance and 160 accuracy. So I have way more than I need. But again, I built this guy with the intent of farming a higher level. And I believe, yeah, this is geared more towards not even the highest level. I would need to change his gear around to be able to farm stage 25. And it's negative affinity too. So you know, if and when I get there. But again, here's the strategy of the Sand Devil. Like, I don't care about the higher levels right now because the higher levels are only going to get me the highest pots, the highest oil. What do they call them? Oils, right? The highest oils. Yeah, the highest oils. And frankly, at this point, I'm not using these. Right? I'm going to find a handful of really good ascension rolls, and then I'm going to step up to the next level. And I'll start upgrading them and looking to get the higher oils. But until then, I'm focusing on the little ones, and now I'm trying to find and identify the really good pieces. So his accuracy is more than I need right now, and it's good enough for the next, I would say, 10 levels. But once I get towards the end or the final stages, I'm really going to have to bump this up. His resistance is 480 on stage 24, which means you need like 505, 510, 515 accuracy to reliably land that sleep. Lydia comes in as a supporting act, right? She comes in, like I said, for her A2, and I did a guide on her, so I'm not going to spend too much time on her kit. She is built for a lot of other content. Septimus, big hitter. I went over him in one of my spider videos. I can pin to that for you. Crit cap, 244 crit damage. I'm going to rebuild him and take the accuracy out because I don't really use it. I thought I might use it for his passive, but he comes in for his big hitting A2, which increases damage according to max HP. And his A1 is actually like a pretty big hit. He can't get this extra turn in this fight because we're not facing waves, but his abilities hit pretty hard. Royal Guard, just did a video on him as well. I'll pin to that up top. He's coming in for his A2 with a max HP ability, and I'm going to turn off his A3. I don't want the turn meter dropping because it's going to reduce his max HP. His A1 does have a decreased defense, which is, it's nice when Lydia gets resisted or the tune gets out of sync. And I've got him crit capped with 280 crit damage, enough accuracy to do his job if I want. I may end up rebuilding my second one to be a Sand Devil one, so he'll be, a bit tankier with no accuracy and, substantial damage. But that'll happen when I go towards the higher levels. It's really not that important right now, considering how easy or how much easier stage 7 is. And I built Ninja with the intent of doing the Godseeker, Aniri, and Ninja combo. So he's got, 480 accuracy. I got him crit capped with 224 crit damage, running decently fast, and 4K attack. So he's built to do damage in every way possible with his hits and with his abilities, because his kit is all centered around this A2. It's a triple hitter, and each hit when booked has a 100% chance of placing an HP burn for 3 turns. And then when you use it against bosses, every hit will instantly activate HP burn debuffs, which is incredible. So you can just chunk some damage out of any boss very quickly with this. It's pretty impressive. His A3, when used against a boss, will ignore 50% defense and decrease the cooldown of his A2. So it helps him get back to it faster. And his A1 has a decreased defense chance, as well as an increased turn meter for himself. His passive is pretty cool, but it increases his attack and crit damage each time a single enemy is hit by all 3 of his abilities in a single round. Now, this fight is 1 round, which means that over the course of time in this fight, the longer the fight, Ninja's going to get, because it's different against bosses, Ninja will get up to 20% attack, actually up to 100% attack, and 25% crit damage, which is pretty impressive, right? So it'll add another 1,500 attack and another, 25% crit damage, which is pretty awesome. So that's the team I use for stage 7 right now. Again, I only do it under certain circumstances. It's not a high priority for me. At some point, I'm sure I will be spending a lot more energy and time in the Sand Devils Necropolis, but that's not now. So I'm going to throw a clip of my stage 7 run at the end. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Give me a like and a subscribe on the way out, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Enjoy your raid.